Have you ever worked hard to get what you thought you wanted, whether that's a quote dream job, a relationship with a perfect body, only to realize you still weren't happy or something's still missing? In this episode, I take you through the 3 stages we all go through on the path to self-discovery and figuring out what we want, and share how this led me to starting this new podcast. Growing up, I was trained to be an achiever and expert hoop jumper. Whatever obstacles you put in front of me, I could figure out a way to overcome for the sake of achievement. And I, like many others, had an obstacle course scripted for me from the start. Make straight A's, go to a great university, work for a big company that pays well, and on and on. So without questioning it, I followed the script to a T, jumping over any hoop and landing a high-paying job as a software engineer at Microsoft. But after years of doing good work, something felt missing. Despite achieving prestige and success on paper, I couldn't shake the feeling of not enough. It was like this ironic mix of both emptiness and overwhelm. Emptiness because I never felt enough, and overwhelm because there was always another hoop to. I realized that chasing down other people's goals and pretending they were my own would never make me feel enough. Granted, I learned a lot working in the corporate world, and I value those learnings. Adhering to a script, though, that I didn't write over time exhausted me at not only a physical level, but also on a spiritual level, leading to what I now call purpose burnout. Fast forward 4 years, and I left that world to start my own thing, a behavior change company, Coach Viva, with my partner Richard Prasad. I'd be the technical co-founder, the CTO, and our first mission was to tackle behavior change in the weight loss space, with an ambitious goal to reverse the obesity trend. Now, having struggled with food and weight almost my entire life up to that point, this was a mission that was near and dear to my heart. I got stars in my eyes and thought, yes, I'm writing my own script now. I have purpose. I get to be my own boss. I get to be a scrappy entrepreneur and wear so many hats and with no schedule. So yeah, I found what I was looking for. But what I thought was a shiny entrepreneurial life led me to my biggest burnout ever in early 2021. This time it was pure physical burnout. I was restless and exhausted at the same time. I couldn't sleep, but I also couldn't think. The work got harder, not easier over time. And the more I worked, the worse my results were. It was like a downward spiral. And I remember lying awake in bed one night, just wondering, how can this be? I literally created my dream job. How can it be that I am still not happy? I went to therapy for the first time, thinking there was something wrong with me. Spoiler alert, there wasn't. I spent tens and thousands of dollars on coaches and mentors to help me, only to discover that I was still following someone else's script. Now, Coach Viva's mission still is my mission, but my day-to-day role in the company was not aligned with what I truly wanted to do every day. Now, sometimes you have to do what you don't want to get from point A to point B, sure, but this kind of work has a shelf life. Willpower was never meant to be sustainable. After spending a decade as a software engineer, I realized I didn't enjoy product work that much. I didn't want to be CTO. I also didn't want what I thought a scrappy entrepreneur was anymore. I didn't want to wear 5 different hats and be on call 24/7. I also had thought it was great to have no schedule, but I ended up working even longer hours due to the lack of structure. I thought I wanted all these things, but I had no clue. I had to face reality that if I really loved my company, I would need to step down into a more suitable and therefore more sustainable role in the company, at the expense of the title sounding a little less prestigious, at the expense of admitting that for once, I can't jump over this hoop, because it's still not my hoop. So whose hoop was it? Whose was that someone else's script I was still living off of? That was my ego's. An ego born from beliefs conditioned by other people's beliefs, society's beliefs, false romanticization of ideal lifestyles, and other false assumptions I had made when I was younger. What tens and thousands of dollars spent into therapy and coaches taught me was how to meet and recognize my ego and separate its opinions from my unadulterated self's desires. 2021 was a year of breaking through my ego's defenses, which meant breaking parts of my self-identity to get to who I truly wanted to be, feel, and do. A journey that's changed the way I viewed myself, my work, and my relationships, and one that I'm still on today. And as I've spoken to many people about their self-discovery journeys, I've noticed that they all go through similar stages. There are 3 of them. Stage 1, the hostage stage. This is when you do what you think society expects of you. Other people set the obstacle course for you, and your only job is to jump through their hoops. Often this is tied to status seeking or people pleasing. I call this the hostage stage because it's like you're held hostage in a car where you can't control where the driver wants to take you. Your wake-up call is simply, I can't live like this anymore. I have 2 choices. Either guaranteed unhappiness by living someone else's script, or taking a risk to write my own script for at least a possibility of happiness. Now at this point, you park your victim mentality and accept the reality that you actually do have choices and the power to create your own destination. You are not a hostage. Then you hit stage 2, the driver stage. You do what you want to do. You no longer believe that life is just happening to you. Instead, you're in control of life. You and only you are in the driver's seat, and damn it, are you going to get to what you want or die trying? Now, some of you are just fine here for many years or even the rest of their lives. But those who don't eventually end up with a new wake-up call. And it goes something like this. I got what I thought I wanted, and yet I am still not happy, even though I feel like I should be. Something's not right. Also, it feels like this is all harder than it should be. You start to think life should be easier than this. You're overworking and maybe you burn out. Now, while in stage 1, you're aware that you've been following someone else's script, in stage 2, you're convinced you're following your own script, and yet the fact that you're still unhappy is deeply unsettling, and an identity crisis is not uncommon at this stage. That's when you go to stage 3, the VIP guest or passenger stage. So you realize you don't necessarily know what you want because your ego has been behind the wheel this whole time. An ego that's been conditioned through a very limited set of experiences and often false assumptions. It understands a very limited part of the map that you're using to drive. Now in stage 2, you understand, or you think you understand the whole map, and you think you know where you want to go. But in stage 3, you realize that you've actually been driving on foreign land this whole time. And the real map is infinitely more expansive than what you had thought. Because of this, you will never have any idea of where you want to go if you rely on yourself alone. Imagine you're traveling to a foreign destination. You are the VIP guest of honor, and you are assigned local chauffeurs who also serve as guides to recommend and take you to places. Now, you might not have any idea where the best restaurant is, but you know you want something quiet with a good selection of, say, seafood. You tell your guide and your preferences, and they say, I know of a place, and they take you there. You try it, and perhaps you like some of it, but then you realize something about it makes you feel uncomfortable. And you realize, it's too quiet, and maybe you actually do prefer a little bit of background music. So the next time you tell your guide that feedback and you say, and they say, got it, let's try this other place. So in this dynamic, you have some idea of what you like to see, experience, and feel, but you're not dead set on the how of getting it because you have a limited map. Instead, you combine what you already know plus others' knowledge plus life experiences to inform you of what you want. And your primary job is to pay attention to how you feel about the things as you open yourself up to new suggestions and opportunities. Let yourself try what feels right, then use that feedback from that experience to learn and figure out what to choose next. And it's an evolving process that's both creative and directed at the same time. Instead of thinking, I must have this, you now start to believe this or something better. And these 3 stages don't just show up in the context of work. I remember when I finally obtained my dream body after years of dieting and still didn't feel happy because I was focused solely on the numerical goals and didn't tap into what being healthy actually felt like. And I remember waiting 7 years for my boyfriend at the time to be marriage ready for me. And when he finally gave in, feeling like it was an empty victory and subsequently agreeing to call it all off when we both realized we weren't right for each other after all. All because I was so focused on marriage as a goal that I forgot what I really wanted out of a relationship and what kind of a person I wanted to be in my relationship. And I know I'm not alone here. But once I got clear on how I wanted to feel and what kind of person I wanted to be rather than the exact thing I was looking for, and then opened myself up to try new experiences and letting the feedback from those experiences guide me, it was like the right healthy lifestyle and the right romantic partner found their way to me. And that's why I'm creating this new podcast called Meet Yourself instead of Find Yourself, When we try to find ourselves, we are stuck in stage 2, always searching for what we think we want. But when we desire to just meet ourselves, we're in stage 3. We're not dead set on finding anything specific to feel whole. The journey itself reveals that. We are already here. We just need to remove all the ego-based limitations surrounding ourselves so we can see who we are. And we do this by what I call learning through living, the feedback thing I was talking about. You see, what I learned is that figuring yourself out isn't just a matter of learning through books or journaling a lot, although I do both. But the best learnings in self-discovery came from conversing with other people, with my work, with the world, with what's in front of me right now. Conversing is interacting with the things in front of you and then listening to yourself, paying attention to how you respond to those things, whether that's with work or in response to what somebody said or wrote, what triggers you. Those are the things that are important to you. And when you pay attention, you can extract gold from them. But we need to learn to get out of our own heads, which lives in survival mode, long enough to allow ourselves to relax and pay attention to those internal feedback signals. Now, easier said than done. And I find that it's usually not enough to intellectually understand this at an abstract level. For me, this kind of thing is best understood and internalized through hearing other stories, examples, frameworks, analogies, and then mapping those, at least what resonates, to my journey. Plus, I'm just deeply inspired when I hear others' journeys. So I want to create a place where those kinds of conversations can happen for all of us here in this space. First and foremost, then, this is a podcast about self-discovery. And secondly, and as a byproduct, it's about how we practice that by learning through living. If you enjoyed this, please like this video and subscribe, and check out my show notes below for where to find my podcast, my weekly newsletter, and how to reach me in general. Thank you.